and your affiliation. Thank you.
Coach Fobbs, Tim Owens, G-Men Nation. Good to see you, Coach.
Good to see you.
Talk a little bit about this year, being here and preparing for this bowl game. You guys have been here. How is it different from your guys' preparation last year?
Well, last year, it was it's always difficult, to get here and to be the king of the hill. But this year, doing it again is even more difficult. There was a lot of things that we went through during the season, a lot of bumps in the road. But we've been through it before, so the endurance factor was good for us, and we were able to really play our style of football this season and really create turnovers and really be able to score a lot of points in order to be effective this year. But it is very, very difficult, and it helps you to respect those teams that have won back-to-back championships, and even more so.
Football gameplay. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Doing all right. How special is Devontae Kincaid as a player and a person, and what does he mean for this Grambling State Tigers football team and university?
Well, Devontae is extremely special. Everything that we do, centers around him, and we put a lot of weight on his shoulders. He's just a dominant football player. He's the type of player that if you blitz and bring pressure, he can get out of it. He can also beat you with his arm. So he's just a dynamic football player. He's probably his biggest trait that a lot of people overlook is his ability to think. And he understands defenses and what they're trying to do to him. Being as good of a player as he is, he sees a lot of different coverages, a lot of things to try to confuse him. But, to have 7 interceptions in 2 seasons, that's truly remarkable.
Hi, Coach. Chris Lee from WXI 12 News in Greensboro, North Carolina. I wanted to ask you about the matchup with Coach Broadway. Of course, he's made his stop at Grambling, won a Black College National Championship there as well. And of course, he won the first Celebration Bowl with A&T. Have you put any thought into what that matchup is going to be like with two great coaches kind of going up against each other, trying to see who can kind of outduel one another in this big type of a game?
Well, I appreciate you calling me great. I don't know if I'm there yet. But it's an honor, a privilege. I've watched Coach Broadway from afar, even during his time at Grambling State University. I've always paid attention, to my university. Very, very disciplined approach. There's a lot of similarities when you look at both ball clubs. We focus on trying to play great defense first, turn people over, stop you from running the football firstly, and then try to smother you with our pass rush. And I think they're the same way. Offensively, we try to get after you a little bit different way. This year, they're a little bit different than he's been in the past because he has a quarterback that can make plays with his arms and legs. So it's a similar ball club, similar teams. It's just a matter of who executes and who plays with a level head, because it's one of those situations where, the star is going to be bright, and you got to make sure that you're playing, the right way.
Coach, several times this season, you guys have gotten off to a really fast start, scored on that first drive, or got a quick turnover or whatever. How important is the first 5 minutes of this game tomorrow?
Well, the first 5 minutes are important, but probably as equally as important is the entire ball game. We have started off fast, in recent weeks, but we haven't finished the way that I would like us to finish. And, anytime you're playing a championship caliber team that's used to winning, just like 2 weeks ago, you're going to get 60 minutes of football from them, and you better make sure you're playing 60 minutes of football as well. So I think that's one of those situations that our players have learned from. A lot of people really don't understand that we're a very, very young team. We have a couple of seniors that are very, very dominant in Martez Carter and Devontae Kincaid, but when you look at everyone else, you're talking about sophomores and juniors and freshmen, redshirt freshmen that are playing, in a big-time ball game. So they're having to learn on the go, but the good thing about it is we've been fortunate to continue to win ball games and learn at the same time, and that doesn't always happen.
Ken Rashad, HBCU Sports. How you doing, Coach? For the second straight year, some of your players are experiencing a unique experience in that not only are they playing in the Celebration Bowl, but they're also receiving degrees.
Right.
And I'm guessing that obviously with some help that might present some logistical issues in terms of preparation. Talk about the emotional aspect that puts on some of your players, knowing that they're getting their degrees and also playing for a game of this magnitude, and how does that make you feel as a coach?
Well, we talk about it all the time because it's one of the biggest weekends in their lives. To have an opportunity to get a championship belt in the classroom, but then also get a championship belt on the field, that's a huge weekend for you. So we talk about those things, and it's a huge, important weekend, and they understand that weekend's coming, and we're trying to build this thing to the point where all of our seniors are graduating at this same time. We have maybe 5 to 6 that will be graduating in the spring semester, but our goal is to all graduate on a Friday, which is today, but then also have an opportunity to win a national championship. You can't ask for a better weekend than that.
Coach Daniel Brown, KTBS Sports out of Shreveport here in the back.
Hey, man.
Coach, Darryl Clark, one of the young wide receivers, not young anymore, has got a full season under his belt, replacing so many great talented receivers from last year. How has that group grown, and specifically him as well this season?
They have grown tremendously. I mean, if you look at us week 1, Devontae was basically running around with his head cut off, and didn't have very many guys to get the ball to. They were always there, but they had a lot to learn, about the game and about understanding what Devontae was doing when he was flushed out of the pocket. So they've grown in recent weeks and really are making a lot of really good plays. And the thing that's different about this year's receiver corps as opposed to last year, the bulk of the receptions were coming from maybe 1 to 1.5 person, but now, there's a plethora of players that are able to make plays, and at any time, any one of them are making plays. You got a freshman that was big for us 2 weeks ago that made a couple of huge plays. You had a sophomore in Geist that made plays for us last week. So it's a lot of plays being made by young people in big games, and that's what you want because they're having to grow up fast and nothing is too bright for them. So in the future you're going to have a chance to be a very successful program.
Coach Mark Wright from ESPN's The Undefeated.
Hey, Mark.
Very good. Good to see you. Speak to the significance of opening the bowl season, first one out the gate on national TV, high noon, and from a coach's and a leadership perspective of the institution, representing for HBCUs and as a leader, does that put any excess weight on you to perform on a national stage?
No, no one can put any more weight on me than I put on myself. Like I've said, I don't have very many hobbies. This is my hobby. So the pressure, I put more pressure on myself than anyone else. But to answer your first question, it's great. It's great to be the first bowl game for several reasons. One, because you get to play in a major bowl on national television and really to put your product out there for everyone to see. It's a huge recruiting tool for you, not only athletically but also academically for all students involved. But the reason why I also like being the first bowl game is because once mine's over, I get to enjoy the bowl season and watch everyone else. So you don't have to necessarily be focused on what you have going on. The season is over, and at that particular time, hopefully, we're hosting the trophy up.
Coach Chris Lee from WXI 12 News again. I know earlier you mentioned offense and defense from A&T. Have you paid attention to their special teams at all? Chris Garton
Absolutely.
is somebody's ranked second all time in FCS history in return yards, and he can either go for 6 or have A&T start off a great field position, which is kind of how they score a lot of their points throughout the season. What kind of emphasis are you guys placing on the special teams?
He is a dynamic performer, and if you've watched us play, we've been very dominant in the kicking game as well. There are several games throughout the season where offense and defense is kind of nip and tuck, but the difference has been special teams for us. So, of course, we know who he is and what he's capable of doing. So for us, it's about making sure that we do different things to make him uncomfortable, to really impact their scheme, and try to force them to do things that they don't want to do in the kicking game. I think the reason why both teams are here at this point is all 3 phases are extremely strong. And you don't play in this game at this time of year with an 11-0 team and an 11-1 team and not be strong in all 3 areas.
Coach Fobbs, hi, I'm Rhiannon Walker from ESPN's Undefeated. You being the coach and you knowing the playbook and you knowing the film, what have you, what are the intangibles that Grambling has that you think will make it a winner? What are some things that you've seen in North Carolina A&T that give you some, I don't know if they keep you up at night, but maybe give you a little bit of pause?
Well, one thing is they're a very, very disciplined ball club. A lot like us. Not to say that a lot of the teams that we face aren't, but when you look at the level of discipline of our ball club, that has kind of been the edge that we've been enjoying. So you're talking about a team that's extremely disciplined, they're extremely focused, and they're extremely tough. So you're looking in a mirror. So when it boils down to it, it's about execution. Because effort, that's not going to be an issue. If you have to be concerned about effort at this time of season, in this particular game, in this particular arena, then your heart's probably not beating, or you don't love football. So I would say discipline is the key thing that sticks out. But, you know, it's one of those situations where you're looking in a mirror. You're looking in a mirror and you're saying, okay, guys, you know, they're 11-0 for a reason.
Coach Fobbs, Jonathan Simmons here for Real Talk Sports in Atlanta. Your players talked about the family atmosphere. What does it mean for you, your family connections to the university, and being part of this really kind of resurgence of the Grambling program twice here now in the Celebration Bowl?
It's huge. You know, 5 years ago when I developed a plan to become a head football coach, we had this in mind. There were three things that were important to us. Well, two questions that were important. What am I looking for at a university? And then if I'm a parent of a student athlete, what am I looking for my son? So the foundation of everything that we've done and everything that we've built has to do with those two questions in mind. So all of our players and all of our coaches, everyone that's involved, who we bring into our program, coach our player, they have to be the type of people that love and care about people, because you're going to be talked to and you're going to be disciplined. And if you can handle the discipline and learn from it, then you have a chance to be successful. I don't want to work with anybody that's not about loving, not about caring, and not about getting better. That's just not where I am in my life.
Coach Fobbs, I'm the Brian Schoolborn. Quick question. With this game, I mean, basically last two champions of this bowl, both being teams that have kind of become premier teams, it's just kind of a rivalry, even though you don't see these guys often?
I wouldn't consider this a rivalry. You know, this is the first time we played them in a while. It's definitely a rivalry when you look at the two conferences because of the championship caliber of this particular ball game. But you're talking about two really, really good teams that have been extremely dominant in recent years, you know, the last 3 to 5 years. So I don't think it's a rivalry. I think, you know, if you're meeting 2 and 3 times in a row, I think that's when it becomes that type of deal, you know. But you're talking about two respected programs that are extremely good at what they do.
Hey, Coach, Greg Collier, Action Sports and News, all the way back here in the back.
Okay.
Being the defending champion and, so to speak, everybody else's target, did that make it more difficult for you to make it back here to defend?
I would say yes. I would say part of it, yes, definitely. It's a situation where you're playing championship football every week, but I wouldn't want to have it any other way because it keeps you on your toes. I'm a very, very competitive person, and I just believe in, you know, forcing our players and our coaches to play at the optimal level every time. And the only way you do that if you know that you're getting the best from everyone you play. So we relish in that, you know, and that's something that we enjoy is going into a ball game and a team being 10 or 15, 14 points better than they have been in the past. So it's something that we enjoy.
Emory Hunt football game plan. Coach, with the style of play that you see constantly within the conference, you guys went 8-0. How has playing in the SWAC helped prep you for this game or this opponent against A&T?
Well, I think it's more to do with the venues. You know, they have a little bit different style somewhat, but, you know, playing in the big, huge venues that we play in on national television, it kind of gets you prepared for a game of this caliber. I mean, you're talking about 68,000 in the Bayou Classic, 50-plus in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, 40 in NRG Stadium, and no telling who's going to be here, you know, on tomorrow. But I promise you there'll be a lot of people here. So when it comes to playing in front of large crowds and in huge venues and the camera flashing in your eyes, it's something that we're used to, and that's something that you can't get ready for. You have to experience it.
First of all, congratulations, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don Stinson, DNA Sports Talk here in Atlanta. What would Coach Eddie Robinson tell you right now?
Man, you trying to make me start crying, man.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's my man. You know, that's my guy, and I'm hoping he would say, you know, job well done, because that's the reason why I coach. I mean, you're talking about a kid from Monroe, Louisiana, small town, that grew up in a community of All-American Grambling legends that played at Grambling and played in the National Football League. You're talking about Charlie Smith, changing my diaper, Sammy White, Dallas Howe, my first football coach. All of these guys played in the National Football League. So I'm in their homes as a toddler, and they're walking around like giants, and I'm seeing muscles everywhere. So, you know, to be in this position and to do what we've done thus far, and for those guys to call and say, hey, I'm proud of you. I'm putting my Grambling jacket back on. I'm putting my shirt back on. I mean, it's huge. So I'm hoping he would say, you know, job well done. You know, but for me, it's not finished. You know, I'm a perfectionist at everything that I do. And, you know, I just want to be the best. And I want Grambling to be the best.
2 more questions.
What are your memories, if any, of Coach Broadway? I mean, obviously he coached this program before you. What were you do you have interactions with him? If so, kind of what were they like? And
we normally, we've spoken once a semester. When I first got the job, he called me and congratulated me. When he first got the Grambling job, I was an assistant in Louisiana. I called and congratulated him. But he's a stern disciplinarian, and I respect him. I respect that. You know, anyone that has had the opportunity to win multiple national championships, it's someone that you learn from. It's someone that you watch, and he's definitely someone that, you know, I've definitely spent a lot of time watching how he does things in recent years.
One more question.
Daniel Brown, KTBS out of Shreveport. Coach Fobbs, Darius is one of the guys that came in from this program as a transfer. How does his example kind of, you know, being able to make an impact on this program really help Grambling as a whole to players that, you know, may be looking to come in via a transfer?
Well, Darius, you know, was a young man that we recruited out of high school, out of Vicksburg, Mississippi, and you know, from the first time we met, you know, I looked in his eyes, was sitting there talking with him and his family, and I stopped in my tracks and I said, "You're going to be All-American. You're going to be an All-American linebacker. Yeah, you're short, yeah, you're undersized, but the way you approach things and his mentality and focus, I just knew he was going to be a great player." But he decided to go to a junior college in Mississippi for 1 semester, and then he quickly knew that, you know, that Grambling was a place for him. So he came to us immediately that January. So we've had him ever since. So he is a transfer, but he's really not, you know. So he's a dynamic student, engineering major, and even better person. And he represents what we want a G-man to represent. He's the trifecta, you know, great person, great student, and great player. And we talk about that in all of our home visits and with all of our players about moving forward at the same rate of speed in all 3 areas. And he's one of those guys that does that on a great level. Been waiting on you.
Yeah.
Hello. Hey, Coach Luke Williams from the Black College Sports Page. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Sorry I'm late, and probably this question has already been asked. But would you say that your team last year in the 10-9 game underperformed? I think everybody thought it was going to be kind of a high-scoring game. The reason you think that only 10 points were scored in that game?
Well, we didn't play well. We definitely didn't play well. But, you know, there are times where you have to win those type of games. And I think that's what makes you a great team, is when you're an amoeba and you have the ability to win in different ways. We've won in the kicking game. We've won on defense, turning people over and scoring points. We've won outscoring people, and then we've won shutting people out. And there are different challenges every week, and that was one of those challenges. It was a 9-9 ball game, and at the end of the day, well, 10-9 ball game, and you got to find a way to get the win. So I thought that, you know, even though, you know, we were a little disappointed in the way we performed, you're pleased at finding a way to get it done, because at the end of the day, that's all what matters, is getting the victory and getting it done.
And just to follow up, anything about the stage or anything last year you think contributed to that, and what would you do this time to avoid that kind of thing?
No, I don't think it was the stage. I thought we were pressing. Sometimes, you know, your players can want to do so well for you that it ends up, you know, slapping you in the face a little bit. and our kids mean well, but you're still dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds, so you never know, what you're going to get, but they were just trying extremely hard, and I'm not taking anything from North Carolina Central. They did some things too that they're on scholarship too, so they did some things that made it tough for us too.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we have time for one more question. This is the last question we have.
Right.
Excuse me, the HBCU game day, and again, I hope you haven't already answered this, but regardless of the outcome, last game for Kincaid and Carter for you, just talk about what those guys have meant to the program and how they would be out just in the night.
Well, we're talking with the NCAA about petitioning to see if we can rewind the tape and start over with those two guys as freshmen with the same athleticism right now. So we're still waiting on that ruling. But it's been a pleasure to coach those guys. I mean, great athletes, but then also really good people that understand it's about the team. And the thing that's so great about them is not their athleticism and their ability. It's wanting to be a part of something special. There are a lot of times you bring in great players, and it's about them, and it's about you guys adapting to me. These two guys weren't like that. It's about, hey, coach, what do you want from us? What do you want us to do? And they were willing to be just a guy first, and their athletic abilities just kind of took over to make them the guys.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes